I found the shirt by accident, half folded beneath her pillow, still faintly smelling of detergent and rain. It was one of my father's old ones, the one he used to wear when he came home late from Whitlock City's port, sleeves rolled and eyes distant. He'd been gone for months now, but the house still obeyed his silence. I didn't move the shirt. I just stared at it, the fabric dented where her head must have rested. In the glass reflection, I saw my face overlap with his. Every night after that, she changed the sheets but never the pillow. She told me the house felt colder when she didn't. At Marin Point, winter entered through the smallest gaps. The glass walls held light like a lie that wouldn't fade. I started leaving my window open longer, waiting for her to notice. She never said anything, only glanced when the curtains swayed inward, touching the bed like a question. One evening, she asked if I could help her fold the laundry. Her hands trembled over the shirt, pressing each crease as if memory could be ironed smooth. I watched her fingertips linger on the collar, tracing an invisible shape. He used to leave it like this, she murmured. Not quite dry. I wanted to ask if she meant the shirt or herself. The house smelled of starch and silence. At dinner, the cutlery clinked like distant clocks. I realized then that grief had its own routine: fold, smooth, hide, repeat. A week later, the pillow was gone. She said the doctor at Northmore recommended fewer reminders. That sleep only returns when you stop protecting your pain. But that night, I heard her open the drawer. The sound of fabric sliding against wood, slow, guilty. The shirt had found its way back. I stood by the hallway window, watching her shadow sit on the bed. The outline of cloth across her hands. Maybe she believed the fabric remembered more than she did. Maybe she needed someone's scent to fill the space my father left empty. The ticking clock refused to move, as if waiting for permission. I almost told her to stop, that it wasn't him she was holding onto anymore. But her eyes lifted, calm, distant, and she said softly, "Some things are cleaner when they stay hidden." I didn't understand until I saw the stitches near the cuff, the thread pale gold against white. My initials, not his. The shirt had always been mine. The window stayed open all night. The wind never came in, but the sound of the drawer closing did, gentle, final. Like forgiveness pretending to be sleep. After that night, she began locking her door. The rhythm of the house changed. Lighter footsteps, fewer sounds from the kitchen. No more humming while the kettle boiled. At Marin Point, silence has a way of multiplying. It filled every corridor like steam that never cools. I still passed her room sometimes, hearing the faint rustle of sheets. The whisper of fabric she couldn't let go. The pillow remained on her side, slightly indented, as if someone invisible still slept there. I tried to tell myself it wasn't my business. Yet every morning, when I opened the hallway window, I could see her reflection bent over the bed, smoothing wrinkles that kept returning. Once, at breakfast, she asked if I wanted my father's old watch. It didn't work anymore. But she said it suited me. I asked her why she kept giving away pieces of him. She smiled, thin and rehearsed. Because memory should travel, she said. Later, I found the shirt folded in a box labeled winter clothes. It wasn't hidden, it was waiting. I touched the fabric, feeling the faint ridge where she had stitched my initials. The air smelled like salt and sleep. The shirt wasn't heavy, but I carried it as if it were proof of something I shouldn't have seen. That night, I placed it back under her pillow. When I left her room, I heard the faintest sound behind me, the soft click of the lock. Like a heartbeat trying not to be heard. She began waking up earlier than me after that, always dressed, always composed. The house felt rehearsed, each sound timed, each silence placed carefully between gestures. At breakfast, she poured coffee into 2 cups even though one remained untouched. "He used to drink it black," she said once, staring at the steam. I watched her fingertips tremble when the spoon tapped the rim. The sound was too precise to be accidental. She asked me to drive her to Whitlock Registry that afternoon, said she needed to update some documents. I waited in the car, watching rain slide down the windshield. When she came out, she was holding a sealed yellow envelope. She didn't speak on the way home. That night, I noticed she had changed the pillowcase. The shirt was gone again. I didn't ask where, but around midnight, I heard the washing machine hum, a slow, rhythmic spin that didn't stop even when the power flickered. When I checked, there was nothing inside, only water circling itself. She stood by the door, hair damp, eyes reflecting the machine's small window of light. "It's cleaner this way," she whispered. I couldn't tell if she meant the shirt or what we'd become. The next morning, she left the door to her room open. On the bed, the pillow was bare, and beside it lay a single button, pale gold, still wet, like it had just surfaced from the sea. That afternoon, the air in Whitlock City smelled like wet concrete and burned leaves. She stood by the kitchen window, holding the button between her fingers as if weighing it. "You sewed this," she said quietly. I didn't answer. The truth had already gathered behind the glass, waiting to be seen. She set the button on the counter and asked if I remembered the storm last winter. "The one that cracked the greenhouse roof." I nodded. "He never fixed it," she continued. "He said the sound of rain helped him sleep." Her voice wavered, half memory, half confession. I realized then that she'd stopped talking to my father long before he left. She had been speaking to the house instead. She took the shirt from the drawer, still damp, still holding that faint scent of rain. "Do you know why I kept it?" she asked. I thought I did. But before I could answer, she pressed it to her face and said, "Because it wasn't his." The sentence broke like a mirror, quiet, sharp, irreversible. I saw the edge of a folded paper slip from the pocket, a receipt from Northmore Clinic. My name, not his, typed neatly at the top. "You brought it home," she said, voice steady now. "You left it on the chair that night. The window fogged between us." I tried to explain, but words kept dissolving in the air. She looked at me once more, not as a mother, not as an accuser, only as someone who finally understood what silence could hide. Then she turned the lock on the door, softly, the sound final and tender at once. The next morning, the house looked brighter than it should have. Light slid across the glass walls like a slow confession, touching every surface except the one where the shirt had been. Her pillow was gone, the bed made perfectly, untouched. I found the shirt draped over the back of a chair, dry now, the stitching glinting faintly in the sun. The gold thread caught the light like a pulse that refused to die. On the table sat the receipt from Northmore, creased, smudged, but dry. I turned it over and saw her handwriting on the back. "Sleep only returns when the truth has nowhere left to hide." I opened the hallway window as I always did. The wind didn't come in, but the sound of the sea reached from Marin Point, dull and endless. Somewhere beneath that sound, I heard the faint turn of a lock. I looked back once, thinking I'd see her reflection on the glass, but there was only mine. Doubled, faint, wearing a shirt that no longer belonged to anyone. The clock stopped at 6:13 again. And for a moment, the silence looked almost clean.